Welcome to Battered Bruised, Not Broken Season 8 yet again for another episode. Listen, we are moving along so quickly. It's happening so fast. We just got started with Season 8 and here we are already at episode 3. I'm so excited to have you here with us tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, it's getting even better because guess what? We have yet again another powerful woman with another powerful story. And I can't wait to introduce you to her. She's right here and she's excited and ready to share with you. And without further ado, I want to go right ahead and introduce to you right now the woman that is going to be sharing her story tonight, who is none other than Sophia. Welcome, Sophia. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Miss Kamisha. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to have you here with us tonight.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be on the show today and to get the opportunity to share my story.
Yes, most definitely. And so those of you who are now tuning in, go right ahead and comment in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you have not shared this link as yet, what are you waiting for? Share with a friend, with a loved one, with a colleague, so that they can hear what Sophia is about to share with us here tonight. And so Sophia, they're at the edge of their seats, right? And they're trying to figure out what is her story. But before you get ready and begin your story, I want you to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Once again, my name is Sophia. I am just a creative. I am a mentor. I am a friend. I am a daughter, a supporter, someone who brings impact to the world. First and foremost, I am a servant to the Most High God. You know, that's my true calling and my true character. I can't do anything, or I am nothing without my creator, and I thank God for that. Outside of that, I'm very just laid back. I love to be by myself. As much as I pour out, I take a lot of times to pour into myself and just, take care of myself, because sometimes you could pour so much out that you forget about yourself. Career-wise, I am a social worker. I currently work at a juvenile detention center here in Dallas, Texas. And so I do that, and I am a counselor. So I counsel and do those things as well. But most importantly, I think where I find my most joy is doing things like this, using my voice to impact people, using my story to impact people and encourage and influence as much as I can. So yeah, that's just a little bit about myself.
Wow, I just love how you said it's just a little bit. It's so much. Where do you find the time to do all of that?
Sometimes I'm trying to make time. Sometimes I'm trying to create another hour in the 24 that we have.
I know how that goes. I definitely know how that goes. And so, Sophia, they want to know your story. But before we get into it, I want you to start by telling us where it all started for you. Tell us where it all started.
You see the lovely skin that's chocolate right now. It wasn't that growing up, right? The very thing that I embrace right now, the very thing that people can compliment right now was the very thing that pained me, the very thing that sorrowed me. So where did it start? I would say from birth, because I was always dark, right? I'm the darkest complexion out of all my siblings. And so it started from then, right? Growing up, kids can be mean, right? Now I call it, if I could title what I want to speak about, is the different shades of beauty, right? And a lot of times people look at beauty as the eyes of the world, right? They look at it as you have to be this size and you have to be this shape and you have to be this color and you have to look like this. Your waist have to be a 2 and they have given a perception of what beauty was, and I didn't fit that perception. So I didn't even give myself the chance to accept myself, because I was already outed out in a world that I couldn't even fight. So that's where it started. That's where the journey of being bruised started. I was bruised in the skin that I was in. I was
Wow.
I was bruised, battered, bruised, and broken in the
Wow.
skin that I was in. So that's where my story or my journey started.
Wow. 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 And okay, so at what age was that when you recognized or you felt like, I'm different from everyone else? How old were you at that point?
I want to say so. My parents are Haitian American, so I'm Haitian American, and so in Caribbean culture, they're different. If you grow up Caribbean, from the islands, the way that they speak to you, they think they uplift you, but they really don't. You know that saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me? That's a lie.
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
want people to understand words do hurt. They
Mm-hmm.
hurt when they come from your mom. They hurt when they come from your dad. They hurt when they come from your siblings. They hurt when they come from the neighbor. They hurt when they come from the friend, right? They hurt. Now, even when you're playing, words hurt. Even if you put a laugh out loud at the end of the sentence, or you be like, girl, I'm just playing. That doesn't mean how I received it. It didn't hurt me. So growing up, I was always, Haitians, they use words that are very hurtful. They're not nice. And I would say it in my dialect, but like, you're really dark. You're too dark. You're like charcoal. That's what they would say. And when I say it in my Haitian dialect, you'll be like, whoa, you would think that it's some poetic thing because it sounds nice, but it's not. So I would say around 7, 5, around 5, 6 to 7. Because I was in kindergarten, working my way up to first grade, second grade. And then the kids were like, why are you so black? And why are you so da-da-da? And I was chubby too. So that didn't make it no better. So it was in those moments where I knew like I would hate for the rest of my life at that time, that I would hate my skin for the rest of my life.
Wow, wow. It's so interesting that you said it started at such a young age and the fact that you can recall it so well. And so you are like 5 to 7 years old, and now you're being confronted with questioning the color of your skin. I have to ask, at any point in your own home, did your family make you question the color of your skin as well? Or did the
Yeah.
questioning really started, from the family? Okay.
No, I think they were the ones who their voice became the loudest voice.
Wow.
And when I went out into the world, their voice was just echoed through different people. That's the power of people speaking over you. So what I was getting at home, it already hurt, but then when I got into the world, it was amplified. The sound of your skin is not good enough, it's not pretty enough, became amplified in my world. Everywhere I went, if I was at school, if I was at the grocery store, if I was at home, it just amplified. It just echoed.
And and so, given that it was already echoing, how did you find someone to talk to, or did you try to like navigate it on your own?
No, I don't like to talk. Once
Mhm.
again, there are certain cultural aspects of life when you grow up in, you have to learn. In our home, we don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about if things hurt us, if things are mean. Like, I don't like when you said that, right? Can you not say that to me again? It was like, suck it up and move on, right? So what did I do? I rebelled. I fought. So whatever I started to rebel at home, I would go against, what they said, even though I knew I was going to get a whooping. It was like, whatever, And when I went into the community and somebody said something to me, I was ready to fight them. Every chance I got, somebody said something about my skin color, or how not pretty I was, or how fat I was, and how ugly I was because I was dark. I fought them. I fought. Instead of saying I didn't feel good, instead of saying that hurt, I fought.
Yeah. And was that behavior thought as well in your household as well? I mean, because of course what they're saying is going to hurt your feelings, and so your first reaction is to defend yourself. And in thinking to defend yourself, you're thinking, I'm going to have to physically defend myself because the aggression came because obviously they hurt you. They said something that affected you, and so was that aggression or the way in which you responded taught to you through the way in which your family responded to certain situations? Could you say that?
I think it was passive aggression, right? I was very passive. So and when my rebellion looked like my mom telling me to do the dishes and I didn't. And I wouldn't care if I got a whooping or not. And I'll even say, I don't care if you're going to hit me. It doesn't hurt anyways. I became so accustomed to getting whoopings that I became numb. I became numb to pain, right? I became numb to verbal pain and physical pain. I was numb. So no matter what someone said to me or what they did, it was passive aggressive, right? Oh, you just said this, I'm going to act this way. I'm going to make sure I don't do the dishes. And I don't care. I'm going to make sure the house ain't clean. I'm going to make sure when you tell me to cook, it's not done right. It's passive aggressive. Or I'll go to school and make sure you leave work early because you got to come to school because I was fighting.
Wow. And because it was an act of almost like you were crying out for help. It's see me, I needed somebody to see me. At what stage were you able to get help? Or were you able to at least address what you were really dealing with?
I think I was 21. I was 21 when I wanted to say I reached out for help because I was drowning. I didn't want to live anymore. I became very suicidal. I became very dark. Oh, I'm saying this and I'm getting emotional. Because I was in a very dark place. I didn't even want to be my friend. Right? I didn't like anybody around me. So I had to create a world that I had to accept. And that world only looked like me. But I was in prison. So the analogy that I always give when I give this story, I allowed myself to be in a prison in my own mind. And then the voices of other people were the guards. Every opinion, every thought that somebody said about me, anything that somebody believed about me, there were the guards guarding that prison cell, right? And every time I thought I wanted to poke my head out, I was pushed back in by the opinion of other people. I was pushed back in by the voices of other people. I was pushed back in the shadows of me not being good enough, me being rejected, me not being accepted, right? And I remember I was 21 and I remember fighting so bad one day to the point people brought the problems to my house. Whatever I did, I made sure I never brought problems in front of my door. Once again, I'm from the islands. Whatever you do, don't bring no problems at your house. We're okay, right? And so when that happened, I remember my mom pleading and was like, do you want to die? And I told her, yeah. And I was just like, I don't care. Nothing in life, mattered to me. I was so numb. I was so dark, Miss Kamisha, dark, in a dark place. And I remember crying in the mirror. And I was like, God, if you take this anger away from me, I would never put my hands on somebody else unless they put their hands on me. Now we talking two different stories. But, hey, the Lord's still working on it. And so I remember crying in the mirror, like, God, please take this anger away from me. And I remember my mom was going to a church at that time. And when she went to the church, I remember one morning she was going to prayer, and I just decided to go. And that's where my journey started. That's where my healing started. And from there, I met this lady. And I met this lady, and she was over this girls group that we was having at the church, and she wanted me to be a part of it. I am very selective. I am very discerning. I am very, like I said, to myself, because I don't like no problems, and I don't want to bring no problems to nobody. I don't want nobody bringing problems to me. And I remember her coming up to me and was like, God told me that you're gonna help me lead this thing. And I was just like, no. I was like, no, ma'am, I don't want to be a part of it. My mama go to this church. I come to this church. Let that be that. And so she pleaded with me to come. And I remember going. And then from going, I remember being very asking a lot of questions, intuitive, asking so many questions about what she was teaching, about the word of the Lord and things like that. And slowly and gradually, she was just starting to mentor me. She was just taking me under her wings. And then I remember she asked me, what do you want God to do for you? And I was just like, help me not to be angry. Help me to forgive people. And she was like, he can do that. And then I was like, and I wonder if he loves me. And then she was just like, why do you ask that? And I was just like, because I've done so many things, and because he put me in this skin, and he knew people was going to make fun of me. I never knew God loved me because of all the bad things, that happened or people said. And so I remember asking her, when she asked that, I said, I want him to take away this anger and to know if he really loves me. So, yeah.
Wow. And I love that you're being very transparent with those feelings, because some woman who's watching right now can absolutely relate, whether it's the same situation or it's a similar situation where she at some point asks God those questions. Do you really love me? Do you really care? And so I love that you're being vulnerable here to open and share that. And so as you were going through that journey, of rediscovering who you are and who God has called you to be, how long did that take? How long did that process take for you to, walk it out? Yeah.
Oh my God, I think I'm still going through that process. I think there's do we ever get to the destination? Do we ever get to the destination? So that was 21. I believe when I moved here to Dallas, 27, I believe that's when the totality of the work began. Because one, I was stripped from my environment. I was stripped from my comfortability. I was stripped from the voices because I was still in that environment, right? No matter how much healing I got, right? I was still near the people that broke me. And I was still being reminded of who I was. So when I moved to Dallas and the Lord really began the work, I've been in Dallas for 5 years now. And so the Lord really began the work of shedding the lies, of rewiring my brain to see me in his lens, right? He totally transformed my mind. And it's as of recent, I would say about 2 years ago, he was like, I didn't call you to be in the back. I didn't call you to be the shadows of anybody else. Stop dumbing yourself down. Stop dimming your light so other people could shine, because you do me a disservice when you do that. Because I've called you, I've prepared you, I've anointed you, I've set you apart. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And when you dumb yourself down or you dim your light, When you walk in rooms that you're meant to shine in, I can't get the glory because you think and you have the ability, right, to do it. And I'm like, okay. It's like, stop that. He was like, stop allowing the voices of other people to push you back into prison. I've given you the keys and the ability and the authority to walk out of. I've given you the power to stand against every demon, every voice that ever lied to you and said you were not good enough because of the color of your skin, because of a weight, because of a pant size, a dress size. I've given you the power to cause them things to submit under the authority that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So I need you to take that power, because every time you go into a room and you dim, you give them the power back. Every time you get into a space and you shrink, you've given them the power back. So I need you to step in your full authority, in your full ability, in your full power to know that you're beautiful just the way that I've called you, just the way that I made you, just the way that I formed you out of the womb of your mother. I need you to step in that and know that. So when he told me that, I was like, game on. I was like, come on. Because every time we relive is we're giving the enemy the power back. We are giving those voices, those people, the power back. When those chains were broken. But sometimes we don't sit in the presence of God enough.
That's it.
We don't sit in the presence of God enough to know who we are.
That's right.
To know whose we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we then believe every lie and every voice of somebody else to give us an identity that doesn't even belong to us.
Come on now. Yep.
We're misidentified.
Yes.
When we're taking other people's identity that they placed on us and put it on ourselves, when we have a kingdom identity.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Like you're walking in self-doubt and low self-esteem when I called you queens. I called you to reign. So I believe in the last 5 years, the work has really begun, because it's a daily stripping. Because I got to fight that thing. I was a physical fighter. Now I got to fight the war here. Because the battle that needs to be overcome is the one here. It's when you have to tell every voice to come to submission unto the authority of Christ. When you have to tell every lie to be quiet. Because that's not what my father's called me. I'm no longer an orphan. I'm crowned in the kingdom of the Lord. So why am I still acting like I'm an orphan, like I don't belong to somebody? So that's when I started to get my fight back.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started to build my voice up.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
When I stopped believing the lies of everybody else. When I gave them back the identity, the identification card they gave me, and took the one that knows I belong to in the kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I exchanged that thing. That was an exchange that happened. I gave up those filthy garments. I'm going to love me because God made me and he created me and he chose me and he loves me. He's put a voice in me that nobody has. He's put my skin color now, baby. Black is the new thing.
Come on. That's right. That's right.
But for so long, I allowed the voices and the labels that, no, you're not beautiful, or you're not this, and you're not that, and you're not this, to be the the things that fueled my life.
And so now that you have been renewed with, a different mindset, you see your value, you understand who you are and whose you are. How have you been using that to help other women who are now struggling with what you have been able to overcome?
So I mentor women, young girls. There's a couple of mentees that I have that I mentor them just to build their confidence, just to know that, hey, no matter what, beauty comes in every shape, every color, every size, every height, every stature, you know, and to find love in God. There's nothing like knowing the word of God for yourself. It's nothing like knowing what God has said about you. Because when you know that, you're able to combat that when other people try to push on what they think beauty is, to push on what they think is right for you. You're like, no, hold on. That's not the truth. So I mentor. I have my face beat not only for the podcast, but I just came out of a photo shoot because I am launching a ministry or organization called Her Voice Impacts. And it's where behind every woman is a story that gave her a voice, right? And so I want other women to share their stories and other women to be able to not allow the shame, the guilt, the rejection, the voices of other people dictate them from telling their story. Because their story has the impact to set other people free. Their story has enough influence, right, to get the bound out, to get the lost found. It's just like the lady at the well. She allowed shame. She allowed guilt. She allowed the people rejecting her to come out at a strange hour of the day because she felt rejected. She didn't feel like she fit in. But when you come into the knowledge of Christ, when you come into the knowing that God, Jesus make the broken things well. When you come unto the understanding of that, he changes your story. The same town that rejected her was the same town listening to her story, and she was allowed to bring them back to the Savior. Because the Bible said she ran out after, come see of a man that told me about me. The very water the very need she thought she needed, she left it there. But she needed somebody to know her outside of the shame and the guilt. Sometimes we just need that one person to know us and to hear us outside of the shame, the guilt, the rejection that other people have placed on us.
Yes. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
She left the very thing she thought she needed there. And she ran out into the city and was like, let me tell you, this man told me about myself. But the same people had an ear to hear because when she showed up different. She didn't show up the same again. Because once you tell your story, there's a level of confidence. There's a level of empowerment that you get. Oh, I'm no longer bound by this story. I'm no longer attached to this thing. The story freed her. And she was able to accept what Jesus had to offer at the well. So there's women out there with stories that they didn't even share yet because they're still in bondage. The enemy is trying to keep them in bondage so they can't even notice when Jesus showed up at the well. He makes broken things good again. He makes broken things well. So I'm here to encourage that platform that I'm creating, that baby of mine that I'm creating, so women can know You have the voice. Your story gave you a voice. Your story matters. Your story has the ability to set people free. Your story has the ability to make global impact. But you have to take your fight back and tell the story. You have to be able to take that fight back to tell your story. Because the longer you keep it held up, the more in bondage you stay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
That's kind of what I'm working on.
Listen, you've given us much to take in. But as you were speaking, and I have to go back just a bit because I really want to be able to connect for someone who might be watching. And so some of the things that you shared that you would have encountered in dealing with that, did you have that opportunity to mend or go through that process of forgiveness, in terms of your mom, your dad, or the treatment that you would have gotten, the way how they, were the first persons who were echoing this, speaking this thing over you that caused it to propel? Did you get the opportunity to fix that? Was that a part of your process too?
I think the journey of healing and forgiveness came and it looks different, right? I first had to understand culture. Sometimes they're just talking just to talk. They don't really understand, hey, this might hurt my child's feelings. Hey, this might not be the right things to say. So when I process that into therapy with Jesus is a thing. So to all the believers, you could go to therapy, okay? So I went, that's just a plug. So I went to therapy, and in therapy, I learned that sometimes the love that I'm looking for from my parents, because I have new resources, because I have different perspectives, because I was born here, right? What I'm privy to, they were not privy to that, right? What they think is love is I provide, you eat, you clothe, you look nice, you smell good, the lights I paid, you not sleeping outside. I love you. So I had to understand that even though they said these mean things that didn't make me feel good, that wasn't their intention. So I had to process and look at it differently. I had to change my perspective on things, which was kind of challenging, because you're like, how can you say mean things and think that's okay? So I had to learn to love my parents at their level, not the level in which I now have the ability to give. I had to accept something I might never get, because once again, culture, they don't apologize. So it's either I'm going to be held on to this unforgiveness that is poisoning me from being the best version of me, or work through it. I had to choose to work through it. I had to accept an apology I would never get. Because I remember when I told my mom that what you said hurt my feelings, she laughed. What you want me to do? Still stay mad? You didn't think that was hurtful? She was just like, I was playing. I didn't know that was going to hurt your feelings. Well, it did. For years, it did. So when that mindset sunk in, I had a choice to make. Had to either allow this unforgiveness to kill me slowly, or to forgive them in their ignorance, in their lack of knowing that certain words hurt, and let that go and work through that and learn to affirm myself. The Bible says your father and your mother may forsake you, but I, the Lord. So I had to take on the ownership and the parenthood of what the word of God says over me, and make his words my parent. the words and the structure that I needed to shape me. And I'm not just talking Bible because it's what sounds right. I'm talking about because I had to live this thing out. Still living this thing out. Because sometimes somebody might never say, I'm sorry. Then what? Do you not feel as if you deserve healing for yourself? Because I knew I needed it. Because if I was about to take myself out because I couldn't bear it anymore. Because it was so much. So before I did that, I gave Jesus a chance. Because I ain't know no better. And then he started to turn my heart. He literally started to transform me. Transform how I saw things. Perception is everything. What you perceive can shape your world. So that was my forgiveness journey. I had to accept apologies that I would never get in order for me to save me.
You know, I also have to ask this one then. So, you know, because self-acceptance is a serious thing that many women are being faced with, and not just women, in all genders, being faced with, because males are faced with that too. But what do you think is one of the key reasons why, especially women, are being faced with that self-acceptance? What's that one thing that is causing women to have that challenge with self-acceptance?
I think a couple of things. I think it's experiences that they've gone through, right? Rejection is the root. Being rejected is the root to a lot of not accepting yourself. The moment that rejection took place, whether you was adult, whether you was a kid, a child, whenever that it bears fruit. It makes you feel like you're not enough. So if this person didn't think I was enough, why would I think I was enough? So it automatically makes you discount yourself. If we trace every woman's inability to accept themselves, some form of in the line, you will find rejection. You would find some level of I'm not accepted. Right? And that builds on society standards, economical standards, social standards, because everybody want to feel included. Everybody want to feel loved, valued. And so whenever that acceptance was shattered with rejection, it altered your view. It altered your view. So
You know what you said? Yep, what you said, that hit the nail spot on. It really is rejection, and we see so much of that happening from such a young, small age. And there's so many people that don't even recognize that it is rejection because they have been rejected. And as they grow up, they build these walls, because they're trying to just protect themselves. And that's why we have a lot of self-sabotaging happening. Women are self-sabotaging themselves because they don't want to be hurt. They don't want to go through what they've been through before. And so it's like they say to themselves, before you hurt me, I'm going to block it.
Yep.
And then sometimes it's not even the person trying to hurt them. They may be trying to help them, but they don't know how to receive it because of what they have been through. And so that was absolutely spot on. Now we're coming pretty close to the end, but before we wrap up and we go, I have to ask Sophia, have having been through everything that you've encountered this far, and bouncing back, being so resilient, and now having a new perspective on everything, and understanding your value, who your worth, and who God has called you to, understand that there's so much purpose upon your life. What would be your words of encouragement to that woman right now who is watching us, and she's like, oh my goodness, I struggle with this, I struggle with that, and she's in the same place or a similar position as where you were? What would be your words of encouragement to her?
Let your light shine, because your right people are going to find you. Silence the voice of everyone else, because everybody else's voice does not dictate who you are, does not determine where you're going. So silence the voices that are amplified in your life and shine your light so your people can find you. No matter where you go, shine. No matter who you're around, shine. Fight in your mind to get your confidence back. Fight in your mind to silence those voices, because every voice is not a good voice over you. Do not allow yourself to believe the lies of the enemy, the lies of other people that are telling you that you are not good enough, that you're not beautiful enough, or that your voice does not matter, because it does. You matter. Your story matters. Everything about you matters. And you would not be here if it didn't matter. So take your fight back. Fight those thoughts with words of encouragement. Surround yourself with people that are going to speak into your life, that are going to call you not based on your past, but based on where they see you going. So I just want to, that's all I have to say.
And that was well said. That was well said. That was well said. I love what you said. Find your voice.
Yes.
That's important. That's critical. Find your voice. And sometimes women are struggling to find their voice. And what's a really great way to find your voice is to seek the one who has given it to you.
Correct. Seek
You
the
can't
Lord.
That's right.
Seek the Lord. Get into community. Get into people that's going to speak life into you. Because,
yes,
man, it's something about people. There is something about people that's going to speak life into you that's just so amazing.
Yes.
Get around people that are not intimidated by you, but they want to see you win.
Yes, that's it.
So,
Yeah, that's it. Sophia, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's definitely been an awesome privilege and pleasure talking to you. Just before you go, I want you to tell them a little bit about what's up next for you. I know someone out there, they're watching like, oh, I need to connect with her. Like, I want to learn more from her. So tell them where they can find you, and then also tell them what is up next for you as
well. So I am on Facebook and Instagram by my name, Sophia Coulanges. I am in the place of launching Her Voice Impacts. It's going to be a platform, once again, where women can share their stories and we build on those stories. I'm going to do a 12-week course about empowered voices, helping women break free from the shame and guilt that keeps them bound from telling their story. Just going through a 12-week series of sharing and removing the layers so you can feel confident in telling your story and sharing your story. So that's what is up next for me. Of course, you could find me on Instagram and Facebook on Sophia Coulanges, and I'll be looking forward to having new followers, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Miss Kamisha.
You are most welcome. And so, guys, you heard it right here. You can go right ahead. Make sure you follow at Sophia Coulanges on Facebook and on Instagram. Send her a message. Let her know, listen, I watched your episode. And let her know what you think about that as well. Make sure that you reach out. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Make sure you're sharing this link with a friend, with a colleague, with a loved one. Do not think for a second that maybe they may not be interested, because you just never know what they're going through. You just never know. This might definitely be the story that they need to hear right now that will give them the pick me up that they need. Okay. So, Sophia, as we get ready to go, I want to share some more stuff with them, and that's about our interesting, exciting, riveting that's coming up June 28th this year. That's our latest buffet brunch. And this year is going to be our fourth year. Is an annual event happening every year in June. But this year specifically, we are going to be discussing matters of the heart.
Oh,
Matters of the heart is actually going to be the theme that we're going to be discussing. And the reason why I really want to share that much with you is because your conversation here tonight really sparks some of what we'll be discussing in June. Because as we look at as we look at for matters of the heart, the conversation is going to be discussing things like dealing with unforgiveness, dealing with low self-esteem, self-acceptance, betrayal, rejection, abandonment. It's going to pull all those things apart because as women, we are carrying around too much hurt. And we
yeah,
don't even recognize that we're so weighed down, burdened with this hurt, and we don't have anyone to talk to because we don't even want to accept that we have a problem or we have
yeah.
a challenge, right? And so in the room, we're going to be having Dr. Shavonna Waithe. She's all the way from Maryland, Baltimore. She's our keynote speaker. She's going to bring the fire. And then we have a dynamic lineup of panelists. We have Dr. Henry Richards. We have Apostle Travis Blackman and Prophetess Sharianne Marshall, who's going to be in the room. And it's going to be an awesome experience. And guess what? We're doing the 90s edition. So we're going to get to dress up back in time and have some fun. There are going to be a lot of giveaways and a lot of surprises. And we also have added a beautiful element, which is the award ceremony. That's where you get to nominate a phenomenal woman, a woman of great impact to be in the room. And so if you guys are hearing about it for the first time, you want to learn more, just go to our website at www.queensmindset and make sure www.queensmindset.net right here on the screen. Click that link, go right there and get registered. And don't come alone. Bring a friend with you too as well. And so once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's definitely been an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure having you guys here. Once again, to my esteemed guests for tonight. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you so much.
So much.
Thank you. And guys, we'll see you back here next week, same time, to hear another story of another powerful woman. See you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.